Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I, as always, am the Magi, and I'm sure even if you've been living under a rock for the last week or so, you have no doubt heard about all of the amazing product updates that Wizards of the Coast provided us with while they were at GenCon. And that's why rather than going over all 3 years worth of announcements, I really want to look at what is going to be the 2024 season in a little bit more detail from our unique budget perspective so that you can have a plan moving through the next year of how you want to allocate your resources. But hey, before we get into all that, I wanted to take just a moment to thank my community for helping the Stronghold reach a bit of a long-term goal here. 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Definitely a tremendous thing. Thank you for all the views, all the subs, all the likes, all the comments, and just generally being a very supportive community. It means so much more than you'll ever know. And hey, what do you do when you reach a goal? You set a new one. So moving forward, my main talking point goal is going to be to reach just 50 followers over on Twitch. And frankly, we're already about halfway there, so this one should be really, really easy. If you're not already following me on Twitch, please consider doing so. And that always gives you kind of a sneak peek of some of the live play content, things like that. And of course, the support continues to help the community grow. And I'll be thinking up a giveaway to do once we get there. Probably not a whole account this time around, but hey, that's okay. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Now, of course, no big surprise here. The next set coming out in, well, just a couple of weeks is Wilds of Eldraine. And of course, that means previews are going to be starting any minute now. The main thing that was new information is that Wilds of Eldraine is going to contain a bonus sheet that is all about enchantments. In fact, they're calling it Enchanting Tales. And we saw a few previews there, and while most of these cards are not going to hit Explorer for various time reasons, of course, they're all going to make a big splash in Historic. And I think most interestingly, there are a lot of cards here with modern significance. And if you've been around the channel for a little while, you have probably heard me say that once they declare Pioneer accomplished at the end of calendar year 2024, they are very likely to shortly after announce Modern coming to Arena in much the same way that Pioneer did over time. Now, back when we did the budget perspective for the Summer Lord of the Rings set, you will probably recall me talking about some of us, myself included, were going to want to take a break from grinding this set and actively collecting it, and that 78 days of continuing to play but not necessarily collecting the set would result in approximately 82,000 gold being carried over into the fall season. So this is a really great opportunity to use some of that gold. Not only is Wilds of Eldraine going to be in standard for a full 3 years, unlike any other set that we see the remainder of this year, but that bonus sheet is bringing even more value to the equation. Now, while I don't know exactly how much I want to put into this set just yet, be sure to tune in to the budget perspective for Wilds of Eldraine, where we are going to talk about that even more. The Lost Caverns of Xalan is another set we have known about for about a year now. The original Xalan was very big tribal energy with pirates, dinosaurs, merfolk, and vampires making up the 4 dominant tribes of the plane. This time around, Mark has revealed to us that this is a return to Xalan, but not necessarily the Xalan we know, as this is a completely different and subterranean part of the world, although we do know for sure that dinosaurs are making a reappearance here in this subterranean subworld, as there is going to be a crossover with the Jurassic Park branding and more than likely that is going to make its way onto Arena as cosmetics. So a very interesting set. I'm very excited about it. I always love tribal themed decks, and anything that has tribal components to it, like the uncommon land from the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty that has tribal aspects. That is something you are going to want to keep an eye out for as you have the opportunity to add cards to your collection. The first real bit of new news coming out of GenCon may very well be the biggest news of the day. We knew that a Direct to Eternal meant to help move Explorer over to Pioneer set was coming before the end of the 2023 calendar year. We really didn't know what it was. Most of us were thinking it was the anthologies that we just got. But they shocked a lot of people by saying that the original Cons of Tarkir would be a card-for-card re-release onto Arena and on Arena only, for the sole purpose, again, of moving Explorer closer to being Pioneer. They specified that this was going to be a full re-release, not any sort of remastered set. And that means that the majority of these cards are going to be legal in Explorer. The one exception that I am aware of is Khans of Tarkir is one of the places that the ally fetch lands were printed, and that 5-card series is not going to be legal in Explorer unless they do something very surprising, as the fetch lands are not legal in Pioneer. They will, of course, contribute very heavily to historic, changing mana bases there forever. And again, I think this is another keystone piece that we're seeing them lay early for a modern style or modern inspired format to develop on Arena itself. Now, with the re-release of Khans of Tarkir being a direct to eternal release, that tells us a couple high probability things. First off, there probably will not be a quick draft offered for this, but rather just the premier draft. It also means that we are probably not going to have anything like a mastery path. And that is two things that are going to combine to give this very little access to free-to-play players. With that in mind, I have some very specific advice here. Whether you are getting draft tokens from completion of the mastery passes for other sets, or you are picking up the occasional daily deal budgetary discount, or ideally both, Khans of Tarkir is the set you want to be saving these up for. I can tell you I already have 5 tokens set aside, and we can probably pick up another 3, 4, maybe even 5 before this set finishes its run, probably sometime in January. So definitely be on the lookout for those, and of course we'll be talking about that more here on the channel, both in the form of future set mastery passes as well as discussions about daily deals. All right, continuing in the category of completely new set information, the third premier set for the 2024 budgetary year is going to be Murders at Carlo Manor. And they have told us this is a return to Ravnica, but once again, not the Ravnica we have known and in most cases loved. This set is not going to be guild focused. Instead, it is a, and I quote, thematic top-down set inspired by detectives, whodunits, and sleuthing. We do also know that the Carlo Manor is the ancestral home of Tessa Karlov, the unofficial leader of the Orzhov Guild, so don't be surprised if she makes an appearance. Other low-hanging fruit for this set, if they don't include clue tokens and maybe some new mechanical uses for clue tokens, that would be a real miss. I'm expecting to see something kind of the way they did with blood tokens, where the token itself has one functionality, but then we see cards that use it in other ways. And I think this set is really ripe for that in a way that no other set so far has been. The fourth and final premiere set for this budget year is going to be the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. This is something that a lot of folks have been waiting for quite some time. It is going to be a Wild West, dare I say, cowboy themed plane, and it's going to be very villain focused, per Mark Rosewater. And in fact, with the preview art for it, not only showed one villain in prominence there, but stretched out a series of 6 villains. And the internet has come together to identify most of these. Starting on the left-hand side, we've got Tiny Bones, followed by Vraska, now with no spark, presumably. The third figure, the most common idea here is that this is Kellen, a character that is being introduced in the previously mentioned murder mystery set. And the general consensus here is that he gets blamed for the murders and has to go out on the run, even though he might not be a bad guy at heart, or maybe this is what turns him to be a bad guy. The fourth figure is most predominantly Oko. And the fifth figure, well, is anybody's guess. It's very difficult to tell. The final figure with the tremendous wingspan, I have to apologize to whoever it was I was in conversation with. They had theorized that this was Rakdos, and I absolutely thought they were wrong. But now, having seen some of this artwork that has been enlarged and enhanced, there really is no doubt that that final figure on the right-hand side is Rakdos. And, well, I think the most important thing here is we're going to get wizard cowboys. I do hope that there is some mention of maybe some sort of, dare I say, American Indian inspired or Aboriginal inspired subculture here, but I really hope Wizards of the Coast does not make the mistake of making that a conflict sort of thing between the more modern and the more traditional cultures there. I think that would be a tremendous mistake. And the final set that will be most likely the summer set just before we coast into the renewal and rotation season will be Modern Horizons 3. Now, there was some talk from the Alchemy team about a Pioneer Horizons, and it was a little unclear as to whether Modern Horizons was going to be released on Arena or not. But personally, I took it that Pioneer Horizons was going to be a set in the following calendar year that kind of pushed Pioneer into the forefront and made Explorer a thing of the past. Because this is looking to be a modern inspired set, it is very unlikely that they are going to bring this directly into Alchemy, although they did with Lord of the Rings. But I think that had to do more with Lord of the Rings' overall lower power level, which is not what we're expecting here for Modern Horizons. So this is probably going to be a second direct-to-eternal release for 2024 on the Arena client. However, this one was promised to be fully supported. That means we can expect a Mastery track and Mastery Pass available for it. He said this was going to be a fully draftable set on Arena, and to me that means we're going to see quick drafts as well. So this should be much easier for the free-to-play player to acquire and add to their collections. And frankly, I think it is going to be very exciting, particularly once we see more of what is to come with Modern Horizons. Now, most recently, we've had some releases for Commander Masters, and we saw some very interesting things there. Unfortunately, the set is not proving popular and a good seller, but I think there was a lot of keys from that we can expect will continue as far as trending in Modern Horizons, that being a lot of downgrades, so to speak, or downshifts of uncommons, and in some cases even rare cards, all the way down to common. And that is going to have big impacts on historic popper. And again, that is something I am very excited about. But mostly, I just hope that this isn't pitched and forced into alchemy the way Lord of the Rings was. I think that really was a negative to a lot of people, and in fact, far more so than I believe it should have been. And folks, before you go, allow me to take just a moment to thank my patrons for supporting everything we do here on the channel. If we're doing this much, imagine what we could do with just a little more support. So take just a moment, check out our patron page. We distribute things there, not just for those making pledges, but for all levels. And we're talking about things that don't get distributed through any other means on the community. And hey, it always helps when you do all those YouTube things.